Hey, welcome to a audio only version today of MidDay Café. And I'm Mike Giannotti along with
Tyrelle Barnes.
and Tyrelle. Why are we audio only?
I'm sorry, Mike. It's my fault. We had a bad storm here and the Wi-Fi is all messed up. And so when we were trying to coordinate using video, it was looking pretty bad. At one point, you said that I was asleep because I was frozen with my eyes shut. So that's why.
But you know what? Here's the great thing. Even with diminished bandwidth and everything, we're still able. Where are you at today?
I'm in the mountains.
You're in the mountains. So you're up in the mountains. I'm down here out near Raleigh, and we're still talking. We've had a great conversation prior to this, and we're able to carry on. And that's the beauty of distributed teamwork and teams.
It is. And then for all of our viewers who are only listening to audio anyways, they're not missing anything.
That's right. That's correct. So we've got a great topic today, and I'm glad you're the one who suggested it. Microsoft and LinkedIn's new Work Trend Index on the state of AI at work.
Yes. And it's a very exciting, Mike, and kind of really eye-opening on how fast things are moving. And there's something that we're going to share when we start to kind of go through the content and summary of the main points is there's a new term that I think is really cool called BYOAI. So we'll describe exactly what that is later on.
Very cool. I look forward to hearing about it. And you know, just before, you know, because you alluded to it, you said things are changing so rapidly. It brings up something that I actually saw and I shared with my teammates, and for a few of them, I think it was like a bomb dropped, and it's just, you know, this idea that, and I love, you know, my manager's manager, Jeff. We were talking the other day, and he talks all the time about, you know, companies, they need to be building that AI muscle now. Mm-hmm. And I think this whole thing that came out from Microsoft Research, a new AI model that it's purely research right now, but it's called VASA 1. And when I showed it to my colleagues, they're like, oh my goodness, because I think people don't understand how fast things are changing in the world of AI and what that's going to mean for the enterprise and why they need to be doing things now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I know you, Mike, because you just shared that with me. It's hard to keep up with everything that we're doing at Microsoft. And so I'm eager to watch the VASA 1. But yeah, and then when we were talking before the podcast, you were mentioning trying to think forward to 10 years, and I can't even think forward to 10 years. It's too long. I think, you know, for me to conceive what's going to happen when I just think of all that we've done in the last year, or that the world's done, and, you know, multiple technology companies. And so, yeah, you were mentioning earlier, this is kind of equivalent to the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, I think, you know, as you look at the capabilities that are being actively developed, and you know, to all the people who, you know, and this is the argument I had again with a couple of my own colleagues was, you know, look, this is, you know, they were like, you know, people get nervous and scared. Oh, we can't do, just because we can, we shouldn't, doesn't mean we should. And that may be true, but having said that, the genie is out of the bottle. Mm-hmm. And companies, so like for this VASA 1 as an example, you know, it showed how you could take a single image of an individual in a short, you know, matter of seconds, audio sampling from them, and then generate an AI-driven dialogue and all that stuff that's virtually indistinguishable from the individual. And we're doing stuff like that already, very rough and crude with some online apps and things like that. But, you know, the point is it's happening. And like right now, there's even a company that I've seen that offers as a service virtual newscasting. And so the newscasters, they have different male and female AI newscasters in AI generated rooms. You can't tell they're not real. And if you think about like the evening news where it's people reading from teleprompters and having, side jokes to each other and things like that, all that can be scripted at a much reduced cost. And so if people don't think that that's not going to have a huge impact in the next couple of years in mediums that use those formats, they'd be sadly mistaken, because there's already like several European ones that I've seen online that that's how they're delivering news.
Wow.
Today.
I'm just amazed, Mike.
It's, and I think if we just, the idea, and the reason why I'm bringing it up, because we're going to get in the work trend analysis, but this whole idea that things are happening, it's really like the analogy, let me take one step back. We're used to in tech having the hype scale, right? Where things get hyped, there's the disillusionment, and then there's the crawling out of the valley and slowly up the mountain to where you thought you'd be. That normally takes years and years, but then eventually where you thought you were going to get to turns out even better than the original hype. But it's over time, right?
Yeah.
In AI, because AI is helping on the back end in many of these things to move forward the development of these AI capabilities. It's I think that piece from hype to disillusionment, I think Gardner's the one that did the disillusionment trough, and then moving up. I think it's a much steeper, quicker climb in that I don't think people understand how fast things are actually happening on the back end and are going to start manifesting themselves in products and services over the next 2, 3, 4 years. And I would say in 5 years out, we're a radically transformed industry.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's basically an iterative cycle. And so now that the generative AI is actually doing the iterations at a speed that we can't even barely conceive, that's what's lending itself to this like very rapid innovation.
Yeah, and it's, and the thing is, and this will lead into the work trend and we can start going into it. This idea, going back to Jeff's point about building that AI muscle, becomes super important, because we are in a transformative period that, I contend we haven't seen anything like this since the Industrial Revolution.
Right.
And that radically altered whole societies, nations. Some rose or fell based on that. And, the same thing goes for organizations. If they're not building that, if there's people who are resistant, well, we're going to put the brakes on. We have a 5-year plan. If that's how you're approaching this, you're approaching it incorrectly. And you don't want to be, it's like that snowball in the cartoons rolling down the hill, picking up steam quickly. And you don't know it's there until it's running you over.
Right. Yeah. So you just have to embrace it.
Embrace it.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. You had a thought.
I think this Work Trends Index report is probably more exciting than any of the ones previously that I've seen, honestly. And, we do them twice a year. And this time it was Microsoft Research and LinkedIn. And so the findings, oh my goodness, like around just the adoption of AI in the workplace, the impact. I would love to hear what your thoughts were, Mike.
Well, do you want to walk through, walk us through, and we'll go point by point, and then we can discuss each point as we go through?
Okay. Well, I'll start with employees are super eager for using AI. So while, their leadership might be trying to figure out things out and consider and we're pilot, people are actually not waiting. And they're just a significant majority of them are already using AI tools, and just that's where the BYO AI, it's bring your own AI to work, and that's what people are doing. So that was
That's interesting.
big theme. Yeah. And they don't necessarily want their employers to know how much they're relying on AI to do their work. So that's, an interesting contrast there. Then also it's raising the bar. So it's really breaking that traditional career ceiling. There's an increase in LinkedIn members adding AI skills to their profiles, non-technical professionals seeking training through different platforms like LinkedIn Learning, and trying things and sharing amongst themselves. There's a very organic movement around this too. And then just the emergence of AI power users that are really reshaping the workday and allowing for more efficient business processes. And that's where I think we go from this concept of the individual use cases for AI to like the actual organizational use cases that can really revamp a whole business process. And to your point, you're talking about how it's going to really change work as we know it. I think that's where the power is. Once people start to figure this out, embrace it, and say, hey, what can we do all up? How can we review some of our main, workflows and processes, and then just make them way more efficient and optimize them and save millions and millions of dollars in the process. So those are some of the key things that I saw. And I know you also reviewed. So what were your thoughts?
Well, I mean, what astounded me was some of the percentages, right? So like they were saying 3 and 4, 75% using AI at work, but we know that work has not provided it. So it goes to that contention that you talked about, bring your own, which there's real implications around that, right?
Yeah. That's kind of like using an unsecured platform and maybe putting in work-related information that should be within that security boundary, and that's not happening. So that's kind of scary.
And I thought, it brought back some conversations I've had with orgs where they're like, we really need to get our security posture around all these things, which we would totally agree with.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
But they think they're blocking it by saying, well, we're restricting access to these URL links and this and that. And I'm thinking, is your head in the sand? Because are you supplying all your users and controlling their smartphone devices, personal tablets and this and that? Because if you're not, then they have ready access wherever they're at.
Yeah, and they're using that. I mean,
yes.
People go to work today expecting commercial grade social media work applications, and including the new AIs. And so if you aren't providing them or considering providing them or have a plan for that, then it's kind of like you're left behind.
Yeah.
Basically.
You're left behind. And I thought it was interesting, kind of following on that, we saw there was a report, and it confused, I think, a lot of people, but there was a news report came out about members of Congress being told to remove Copilot from their phones, their personal phones. And I had people ping, some of the customers, whoa, does that mean government's clamping down on Copilot? And I was like, whoa, what they're doing is they're saying, because they don't have it as a part of, they don't have the enterprise or in the .gov, instance of Copilot, people were putting the consumer version on their congressional phones and then using that during meetings and stuff, with potentially, to look up information on the fly, to capture information, because there is an audio button for not just for ours, but for all the competitors out there, where you could actually be capturing what people are talking about, right? So, the thought is, it gets back to the old, argument it's been around for a long time. You can facilitate, or or you're going to deal with the consequences of not. And people are going to use this because they are more productive. And clearly the stats are showing that. I mean, it's crazy looking at how much people are doing stuff. I was talking to a physician the other day who's oversees a whole huge department at a very large hospital. And he talked about how, until he got Copilot, how he was using ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah. And I've heard that too from other customers. So it sounds like there's a real urgency around this for organizations to get a plan together.
Yeah, I think so. And quickly.
Yeah.
And that's,
I was amazed. I know you probably heard this too, because we just just finished like last week, my security and compliance training. And Microsoft gets attacked. There's a cyber attack, 4,000 cyber attacks per second.
Wow.
Did you catch that stat? Isn't that amazing? And that's up like 300% from last year.
That is crazy. And it's going to just get worse.
Yeah. And I mean, they're, hackers are, what did it say? They're not hacking in, they're logging in.
Mm-hmm.
So like identity theft, all these things are really on the rise. So, wow. Well, it's much more positive and fun to talk about how AI, the good things that people are doing with it.
Yeah. But, and they are. And going back, though, to the earlier piece, I liked in point 3 of the index, they talk about the rise of the power AI, or of the AI power user, and what they reveal about the future. And, they talk about how these power users who really can take advantage of it to really become much more productive and do a lot more, that it's radically not only transforming their work, but their expectation of work and where they're going to work. And that gets into, not just that they have a competitive edge over, their coworkers, but then the organizations to which they're going to be going to are those that have developed that muscle, that are encouraging and facilitating it, and that those organizations in turn have a competitive advantage over their competition.
Yeah, I love that, because it's like those power users they're the eager, driven employees that are actually upskilling themselves.
Yeah.
And they're probably the ones that would be more likely to come up with these innovative ideas around that optimization of a business process or workflow, or how the organization can actually capture this at mass and scale. And so, yeah, the BYO AI, when I'm looking at, to your point, the 75%, it's like across the different generations in the workforce. I mean, it's over 70% across every single generation, including the boomers.
It's crazy. And again, it comes down to those orgs that are going to start facilitating this and learning the new way. And that's, I think, what's important. Again, I don't think there's nobody that I've read a lot of the, I know all, I'm sitting above and blah, blah, is prognosticators. I don't think there's anybody that fully can fathom the end state of all this, right?
No.
But we do know that the orgs that are not responsive and that are trying to go, well, we always slow things down and we hold it back. 1, those orgs are going to be caught.
Yeah.
And 2, the individuals in those roles who are pushing that, if you value your job, the genie is out of the bottle. You better learn how to get the genie to start giving you your wishes. Otherwise, genie's going to answer to somebody else, and you're going to be looking around. What am I going to do?
Yeah. Your genie's moving to another bottle.
I mean, it's happening. The train has left the station, and and if you think about it, again, like I look at my own work, and it took me a while, and I do this stuff all the time. It took me a while to, get acclimated, to get all that, which again, one of the interesting stats that I saw, 75% are using it, but only, I think it was 35%. They talked about, this is in the power user point, talks about that power users work for different kind of companies. And they said they flock to people. It said 61% of them are more likely to have heard from their CEO on the importance of using generative AI. So that top-down leadership in it.
Yep.
53% more likely to receive encouragement from their immediate leadership to consider how AI can transform their functions. But then 35% were more likely to receive tailored AI training. Orgs are not, because they haven't all jumped in. People are racing ahead, but this idea of, as an org, we need to build that muscle and start to train and transform and help the people to help us realize how the company can benefit. That's a huge area, a huge gap, because there are still people saying, whoa, slow the cart.
Yeah. So you know what? So let's assume people are going to say, you know what? The genie's left the bottle. Things are out of the bag.
Yep.
Let's embrace this. What are some ways that like companies can start to do that? And what came to mind when I was thinking about that is like hackathons, internal hackathons, get these people to share use cases. So we have like this coffee fun chat with all of the Modern Work GBBs on Thursdays now. So yesterday we were just sharing, and it's light and it's not always about work. So people were sharing some of their home use cases for Copilot. And I heard a couple that were really cool and a fun way to start practicing. Like if you're not using it at work or you're not sure what to do, like try it at home. One was a colleague shared how it has younger children and was having Copilot write a 5-minute bedtime story using their child's name, and they really like to play soccer and they love ice cream. And so it made this great, like personalized, creative little bedtime story. And then like the next day they're like, okay, what's, chapter 2 of the story? And so that their kids just love that and would get excited about that. And so that was one that I thought was really fun. And then another one was, of course, like the trip planning. Like planning a trip, having it create an itinerary for you with like, and just as much detail as you can give the prompt. So practicing prompting, I think, is a great way that anybody can start to adopt using AI more. And that's something, like, to your point, it's taken me a while to start to think about going to Copilot first, naturally, okay, I'm going to go to Copilot first and I'm just start to prompt and then get the, just give more and more detail into the prompt, and almost like you're having a conversation with somebody and telling them to do something for you. And
being very clear about what you're looking for, right? When you say the detail, I think like that bedtime story is a great example, because the more detail you give it, the more detailed and rich the story, right?
And personalized.
And that's, like you were talking about hackathons, I've seen some orgs now doing promptathons, coming up and then starting to build prompt repositories, the orgs that are getting it and moving forward. But I think, if orgs are serious about this, from a Microsoft standpoint, we do have programs and partners that have been trained and ramped up that are actually delivering now kind of that, okay, so I bought these, what next? And it incorporates the governance, the training, the things like promptathons, hackathons, and then there's a whole range of resources that are available. But
Yeah, our partners are really gonna be helpful here, because they're almost there with what you just mentioned with like the helping our customers and having these like prompt training type of engagements. We're not doing that like you and I mean, it's the
Yeah.
tech. We're all into the tech that like supports all of this, but all of these use cases and this creativity around it is a lot of partners are really leaning in here.
Yeah. And it's amazing, and it's funny because again, going back to you never know, you start to learn things. I posted yesterday a post on generating an email, right?
Uh-huh.
With Copilot. And I showed two ways of doing that. One was I supplied it excuse me, not email, thinking of oh God, I'm totally blanking now. I did two different ones. What was what I did? I wanted to do and I got an email. Man, I need another cup of coffee. Let me go to the blog. What did I write? Come on, here we
You're
go.
making me feel better
Oh,
because I do this all the
whiteboard.
time.
It was whiteboard, duh.
Awesome.
So I talk about whiteboarding, and in whiteboard, you can go in and you can give a prompt, and give it the parameters that you're looking for. And so
Uh-huh.
I heard back afterwards from some people who were like, oh, I did it the one way, but then the second way I did it was I was doing it all based upon, hey, like we're deploying Power BI to our org. And so there's this big adoption plan that's been written. And I used a sample one that's 35 pages long.
Okay.
And I said, hey, I could go ahead and talk and, type in here as we have our brainstorming meeting. What are some of the activities we should do? But what I did was I asked Word to summarize the doc.
Okay.
And then I took that lengthy summarization because now we're able to ingest in the prompt much larger things. I pasted it was like 5 bullets with full descriptions for each. I pasted them right in and it spit out a brainstorm post-it notes piece right onto whiteboard based upon that.
That is cool. I'm gonna have to check that out.
And I had people going, I didn't know you could do that. I was like, I didn't either. I just am too stupid. but you do promptathons and hackathons and people start doing things naturally, which then they can share.
Yeah. And that's how people learn the fastest that way. They remember things that way. So it all lends itself into that whole like organic growth type of thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
well,
bottom line, orgs need to get on
board. Yeah.
Get on board. Start building that muscle. And I don't mean by like having 2 or 3 people play with it.
Right.
Intentional training, things like you were talking about, hackathons, promptathons, get a partner involved, do a full-blown pilot with a large sampling group.
Yeah.
And get moving. Otherwise, it's going to be rough for you down the road.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, I need to run.
Me too.
This has been great. I know you do. This has been great to catch up with you. And exciting to hear all the new goodness that's coming.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead. We'll put the links to both the report and the VASA One research, because that just is mind blowing when you watch it.
It's blowing my mind, and you just told me about it. So, wow.
All right. Well, have a great weekend, Tyrelle.
Thank you so much. You too, Mike.
All right. Enjoy, everybody listening. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a great one.
Yeah.
See you next time. Ciao.
Bye.